Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. We are here again outside of Old Trafford to discuss some topical news, a little bit of a debate, and this topic is going to be about Casemiro, the central defensive midfielder that Manchester United seemingly have just been linked to within the past 2 days, and the links are heating up and it looks like Manchester United are quite desperate to get Casemiro signed and over the line. We're going to talk about how he would influence this Manchester United team, how he would make this Manchester United team better, why Erik ten Hag and Manchester United are interested in Casemiro, and the potential price tag involved as well, because it's not a cheap one, guys. It really isn't, and I'm here to break it down for you now, give you the positives and if there is any negatives about bringing Casemiro to Old Trafford. So starting off with Casemiro, we'll talk about his strengths and what he would bring to this team. He is 30 years old and he plays central defensive midfield for Real Madrid, the team that won the Champions League last year. And when playing in the Champions League last year and playing across La Liga, he was consistently a standout player for Real Madrid, and he's renowned to be one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world, and he was very highly rated. So when we got linked to him, you can imagine I was excited, but I also think no way this is going to happen. Real Madrid are going to want to keep hold of this guy. But what we've got to remember is Tchouaméni has been brought in to continue that role, and Casemiro could end up being phased out. He is 30 years old. Real Madrid might think maybe we should take some money for him now, because considering what Manchester United are offering, and Casemiro might think it's a good opportunity to get a high wage on the later years of my career, and Manchester United are going to offer that. The reports are coming out, and they're coming out from the Telegraph, that Casemiro would be looking Real Madrid were looking for €50 million for Casemiro, and also Casemiro would be looking to get his wage doubled with what Manchester United are offering. And you would think this is a lot of money, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't really be that bothered about the money if you're getting the likes of Casemiro. That would massively improve this midfield. And you might ask me, why would he improve this midfield? And despite the obvious, him being one of the best midfielders I think in the world, especially when you look at the defensive attributes he brings, I think he would complement the rest of the team really well. You've got to remember, he's played with Varane at Real Madrid. He's also played with Fred in the Brazilian national team. And the Brazilian national team is a big one, because often fans have said, why do we get B-Tech Fred from Man United? Why, when he goes to Brazil, does he seem to be a different type of player, involved in a lot of the positive play, involved in attacking contributions, and also steadying the midfield along with Casemiro? And the reason I believe that Fred plays better at Brazil, it's different Premier League football to international football, but the reason I genuinely believe it is because he's playing with Casemiro in the midfield. The three that were playing across Copa America for Brazil was Fred, Casemiro as the six, and Paqueta. Casemiro occupied the sixth role, taking the ball off the back four and progressing it forward, and Fred was then allowed more freedom to kind of get involved in the attacking areas, get into the final third and have a little bit more room to roam, because we know that Fred often is caught out of position and you see him roaming in all areas of the pitch. And when he's playing at United, that's a problem, because you have the likes of McTominay in midfield that can't hold that ship on his own. Casemiro can hold that ship on his own, so it's a real positive for Fred to play with him in the midfield if he does come to Manchester United, because what Casemiro will do is he'll be the six, as we spoke about in the last video. Erik ten Hag wants a six there that can take the ball off the back four and progress it up the pitch. He wants to play with that number six, and Eriksen played it last game, but I think having someone like Casemiro who is comfortable in possession, but also his defensive attributes are very good as well, I think it would really bring the best out in the team and the midfield. And when you talk about the defensive attributes that Casemiro brings, Varane is another player that's benefited off Casemiro at Real Madrid. They played together, and I think Casemiro would give confidence to Varane. He would really give confidence to him as that player playing is the next midfielder out from the centre-backs, because you have Varane and potentially Maguire or Martinez playing in that back two. They know that Casemiro is going to be able to receive the ball on the half-turn. They also know that he'll be able to break up play and break up areas in the midfield and break things up as it goes along. So when you've got Casemiro that can take the ball off Varane and can take it off Martinez, you have a more secure midfield, you have a more secure defence that knows that the passing lanes are going to be available, and someone who's really experienced in that role as well. And another thing about Casemiro is he can break the play down very well. His interceptions, the way that he intercepts into play, the way that he breaks up play from the offensive team is really good for Erik ten Hag's style of football. The reason it's good for Erik ten Hag's style of football is because Erik ten Hag likes to play possession-based football. So not only can Casemiro transition the ball from the back line and help the midfield progress it up the pitch, he also breaks up the offensive counter-attacks, and he's been very, very good at this at Real Madrid over his time, and we struggle with this a lot in Manchester United. You see the team can quickly cut through Manchester United's midfield, the defence are left open, and a lot of the times we end up conceding goals from counter-attack plays. Casemiro would be a great player to integrate into this midfield because his positional play as a midfielder and as a centre defensive midfielder means that he's usually in the right positions to break up this play, and also the way that he can get about the pitch and he can kind of glide across the back line means that the midfield would be a lot more structured and have a lot better structure to it. So Casemiro is going to benefit Fred, he's going to benefit Varane, he's going to benefit the midfield in general, and I think if you brought Casemiro to Old Trafford you would most likely see Casemiro playing as a 6, Fred playing as an 8/box-to-box player, potentially dropping in to help Casemiro out, and then Bruno is the more attacking 10/8 player. I think that would be your ideal 3. You could have McTominay alternating in for Fred, potentially Donny van de Beek as well, and I think then you would get to see the best of Eriksen kind of battling for that spot with Bruno, because we know his passing ability is so good, and I think he should be playing more further forward. So it already gives a balance to the midfield. And the price tag, you would argue, €50 million is being reported. For a 30-year-old player, that seems like quite a lot, and I have to agree with you, it is a lot. But Manchester United are desperate right now. They need a midfielder in. We've been crying out for a CDM for season upon season. Finally, we're getting linked to it in the last couple of weeks of the transfer window. And Casemiro is open to joining Manchester United. It will take a big wage, but if it's going to improve the midfield, which it will, which will overall improve the whole style of play and help Erik ten Hag continue with his football and continue with the style that he wants to play, which currently we don't have the players to do it. He adds balance to midfield, it adds a defensive midfielder. I honestly would be open to this deal happening. I would be so happy if Casemiro signed. He is 30 years old, but at 30 years old, last season he played 66 games for Real Madrid. And he also played a vital part in a Champions League final. He's up to playing at the top level, and he can continue to do this in that Manchester United team. I think even if you get the best out of him for 1 or 2 years, he's a really fit player, and I think he brings a lot to the team. And following up on me saying that Casemiro would complement Fred and he would complement the midfield, I've got actually a few statistics to compare Fred's current partner in Scott McTominay and the future partner that he could have in Casemiro. And we've got tackles per 90, in which Casemiro comes out at 3.21 and unsurprisingly Scott McTominay at 2.38. So Casemiro wins that one. Interceptions per 90, Casemiro 2.07, Scott McTominay 1.97. So again, Casemiro just wins it. And progressive passes per 90, which is a big one. We want someone who can progress the ball out from the back and help shift it up the pitch. This is something that we'd really struggled with. You've got Casemiro at 4.53 and Scott McTominay at 3.62. Pass completion, Casemiro wins it again with 87%, Scott McTominay 85%, and aerial duels won, which I thought Scott McTominay was bound to win this one. I thought this was one that Scott McTominay would win, but actually the stats show that Casemiro has 3.42 per 90 and Scott McTominay 2.66. So Casemiro, even though he's smaller than Scott, isn't as physical, he's still winning more aerial duels, which to me shows about how experienced he is on the pitch and how much intelligence on the pitch as well. A player that's been that successful in his career, especially in the role of CDM, which is a really, really important role in many football teams, at a top club like Real Madrid, has to be very intelligent. And that stat there, I think, shows his intelligence. And having Casemiro, who's better in all areas across the pitch in the midfield role that we are attempting to play Scott McTominay, we're attempting to play Fred, we're attempting to play Eriksen. All of them players are not CDMs. When you get someone who is experienced in that role, sticks to that role and knows the role inside out, I do think you would see Manchester United midfield completely transform. And whether this deal will happen, I'm not sure, but the fact that we're actually looking for someone who can play the centre defensive midfield role, I think is a really important thing. And some would say we've been caught up on Frenkie de Jong for so long. Frenkie de Jong was a player that Erik ten Hag massively wanted. Now we're getting towards the later end of the transfer window. It does seem like that deal's going to go off. If you ask me now, Frenkie de Jong or Casemiro, it's a really, really hard one. But honestly, if you're not looking at the age and you're not looking at the potential of the future, Casemiro, I think, would fit this team better, purely because we are crying out for a CDM that can play that sixth role to a high level. You see Manchester City with Rodri, how much he impacts their team and gives them that excellence and someone to hold that midfield and someone to dictate that midfield. You see Liverpool with Fabinho, they've got it there. You see Chelsea they play more as a two, but when Kante was involved, he was brilliant at doing that. He's more of a box-to-box, but they have excellent midfielders that can dictate this role. Manchester United don't have that. We have Scott McTominay that have been trying to do one role for a couple of seasons now, and it's not working out. But that's the lowdown on Casemiro, guys. Make sure you get in the comments down below what you think about Casemiro. Would you want to bring him for Old Trafford? Does the price put you off? Does it seem like a bit of a desperate signing? Do you think he would actually leave Real Madrid, Champions League winners, the best team in the world currently, to come to Old Trafford, who are seemingly on this losing streak and not seeming to get any better at the moment? Do you think he would take that jump? Get your comments in down below who you would like to see him partner in midfield, and make sure you like and subscribe.